golf tournament. That's the reason he wasn't there yesterday.
Neil, you have your store open at Fenton now?
We're not going over there.
Oh,
We're
I
just
thought
having-
you were.
No, that's the other guy that's inside the belt line. Yeah, Bailey's is going over there with their new store.
Okay.
Howard fussed at me for that one.
Hey, Jim Lovejoy, that doesn't look good sitting at home wearing a mask. That looks like bad news.
I had COVID last week. I think I'm okay now, but being extra careful.
Good afternoon, Cary Rotary Club. Welcome to the friendliest, most energetic and awesome Rotary Club in District 7710. It's great to see everybody on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Can I ask Bill Zidek to lead us in the invocation and pledge?
Bow our heads. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for the fellowship of this meeting, the beauty of this day, and the food before us. But as we look out on this world and all its turmoil, we realize that throughout this same world, our fellow Rotarians are carrying out many projects which positively influence the conditions under which people live together, not the least of which is the quest for world peace, something sorely needed. As this club approaches the end of one year and the beginning of another, help us to seize the opportunity to not only be of service to society, but to work to achieve the brotherhood from sea to shining sea that we sing about. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless America, land that I love. stand beside her and guide through the night with light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, through the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
Thank you, Bill. From sea to shining sea, that reminded me of a different song. You should try that one time. I ask Paul Wasilkevich to introduce our guests and visiting Rotarians. Paul.
Thank you, President Bob. Our guest is so amazing that we have two of our members claiming him to be your guest. That's never happened before. So, Bill Fletcher and Tim, please introduce your honored guest.
This is Tyler Swanson. Why do I call you Tyler Watson? Tyler Swanson. I met Tyler because he was a lateral entry special ed teacher at Enloe High School.
All right.
Now that is a combination of going into battle. And thank you. He now is working with, and it's been in the nonprofit world. He's now working with the campaign to eliminate the death penalty in North Carolina. But Tyler, thank you.
Welcome, Tyler.
That explains why we have two members claiming. Thank you, President Bob.
Thank you, Paul, and welcome, Tyler. And they're sandwiched. You're sandwiched between them. So
We're not letting him away.
take that. Yes. I do want to let the club know that unfortunately, Cathy Moore will not be able to be with us today. And there's a couple of things I want you to know about that. She let us know on Saturday that she was not able to come. So, the first time around, she had sort of an illness and an emergency. She did let us know in advance. Unfortunately, I have this mechanics of sending out meeting notices that again advertise her to be with us this afternoon. So I apologize for that unintentional misinformation. I had scheduled that email before we were in touch with her. She sends her deepest regrets, and we are going to work to get her on the calendar because obviously what's going on in our schools is hugely important to us. So that's the neutral news.
Bob, the trigger of the change really was the county's decision to approve their budget yesterday. And that was telegraphed over the weekend. And the school board has to respond to that. So that's where they are now, right, in that budget discussion.
Yeah, I appreciate that we're not the only ones whose schedule isn't always our own. And so I'm thankful for her work. But the best news about all this is that we get a chance now to have an alternative program, which I'll introduce Rod in just a minute to talk a little bit about the vision for the future from a Rotary perspective. So we're pleased to have something prepared and to be able to spend our time well. Before we get to that, I want to run down a few items. Can I first ask Kristen Sutton to share some fantastic news?
Yes, we have selected our scholarship recipient for this year, and we're very excited to have him. He's a Green Hope High School student. It's Evan Nazareth, and he's going to be going to UNC Charlotte. Mechanical engineering is what he's going to focus on. So those that are familiar with Boy Scouts, you should be impressed with what I'm about to say. He's the first in the history of the Occoneechee Council to reach Eagle, Quartermaster, which is part of the Sea Scouts, Summit, which is part of Venturing, and Vigil in the Order of the Arrow, which is Honor Society. So I don't understand all of that, but I was really impressed, and I hope that is warranted. But the part that I loved the most was that he's been in the Rotary Interact at Green Hope for 4 years. So he is already ingrained in our culture, and that's part of what he does on a daily basis. So he's the current president, and he was the membership coordinator the year before. So we hit a home run with him. He's going to be here next week. So you get to meet him in person next week. So thank you for all your support.
Fantastic. Congratulations to Evan, and thank you, Kristen, to you and the whole Youth Services Committee for coordinating the award of that scholarship on our behalf. While we're on youth services, there's a volunteer opportunity, a reading readiness opportunity coming up in July that I mentioned in an earlier communication. Bill, I don't know whether you want to speak, and Camille at all to the Read to Achieve and Rotary readers.
President Bob, the opportunity will be for us to participate on one or more of 8 days of instruction in July, Monday through Thursday, July 11th, for starting July 11th for those 2 weeks. There'll be approximately 650 young people in the schools that we have the opportunity to serve in. And last week we put book plates and books that these students will have as part of their reading program. Read to Achieve is a voluntary program for those students who are not yet reading at grade level. And so this is been the focus of our group's literacy efforts for years. And this is a different way to apply it. To become a Rotary reader, however, you need to go to any Wake County public school while they're open. Okay, because they may leave at 3 o'clock once the kids go away, and register to be a volunteer. This district will do a background check on you, and they will clear you to be, assuming they will clear you to be a Rotary reader. This is a prerequisite to participating with this program in July. All right, so that's the short version.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we celebrated that. This was quite a, most of the members that are here shared in some way putting those book plates in the book. So thank you to the club for that. Chris Walker, you've got some other big news coming.
So, when you see Rod coming up to the podium, what do you think? We will. Chili dinner. Chili dinner. When you see Chris come up to the podium, what do you think? Oh, you got it. So right now we're in a save the date. Last Monday in August, August 29th, will be our golf tournament. And once again, Faulkner Haynes has agreed to be the title sponsor. And I'm putting together the handout, and I need to get some more sponsors on here. Anthony Atlantic Tires already agreed to be a Eagle sponsor, and I'm looking for more. So the thing is about sponsors, if you say, yeah, I'll put together a foursome and you give me $500, the actual thing, if you play, it's a wash. We don't make any money off the player. So we make our money off the sponsorships. So really looking for the sponsorships. These go for the new members here. These go to our club's foundation, not the Rotary Foundation, two different entities. And this supports and funds our ventures for non-food related, which the chili dinner supplies. So things like Wake Tech student scholarships, the scholarship that we just announced goes toward, all comes in from the golf tournament. So looking for sponsors. If you're high enough sponsor level, I'll put your logo on the card. If not, I'll get these printed up. Save the date, last Monday in August, 10 o'clock tee off. It won't be too hot. Only 3 people died of heat stroke last year. We're going for less this year. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. Thank you, Chris. Look forward to being out there. I understand the forecast is for a beautiful, clear day, light breeze, no humidity. So that's good. And the good news is we've got a couple of people who've already been out scouting the course. Neil Lagarde and Kevin Peach participated yesterday in the Boys and Girls Home tournament that is jointly sponsored by Dominion and Rotary. And so if you find any balls out there, as you're doing your own round, check with Kevin and Neil and see if they might belong to them. They tell me that they were hitting the ball very hard, if not awfully accurately. So, but thank you both for representing us at that tournament yesterday. Renee, we've got more fun. It's just fun keeps on going today.
Thank you, President Bob. We are at that point in our Rotary year, a culmination of everything we've worked for all year, and a time to celebrate that. With our installation of new officers banquet, it will be June the 28th. You're probably starting to see the invitation come into your inbox. Please respond so we can get a head count. But Bob and Rod have worked really hard to bring the program together. And it's a thing you don't want to miss, especially new members. It's a fun time to be together with us and our significant others and spouses outside of this little meeting. So pay attention to your inbox. It should be there in the next day or so. And we'll talk more about it later on. But we will not have Rotary here on the 28th. Yes.
Two invitations.
Oh.
The 29th may be the district installation.
This is the one you want to come to. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, then just to wrap up before we move on, a couple of calendar items to be aware of. Bill already spoke about the Rotary Readers in July. This weekend, June 11th, meal packing event at Kirk of Kildare. There's been a great turnout. You know, if you've been out to the sign up Genius, you know that you can't see who else is going. But of around 400 volunteers, about 250 have signed up. When I checked last night, the shifts at noontime and in the afternoon on Saturday were those that were a little light compared to the morning, but there's more than 70 volunteers at each of those slots. If you can help, it's a great way to make a contribution to one of our areas of impact around Hungary. And it relates directly back to our chili dinner. So keep that in mind. And Rod, you had something coming up, speaking of the district installation banquet.
Yes, that's right. You know, my daughter Vivian is 13 years old now and just finished 7th grade. And what I noticed last year was that, you know, she'd get home from school and the very first thing she would do is go to the refrigerator and get a snack right when she got home from school. So what we've realized, and this is under the leadership of Nathan Thomas, our incoming district governor, is that there are a lot of kids in our community that don't have that snack available to them. So they can't go to the refrigerator and grab a snack when they get home from school. So this year on June 29th at the district installation banquet, we're going to do something about that as part of an ongoing program that provides snacks to school kids throughout the year. So we have the opportunity as a club, and all of the clubs in the district are participating in this program. We have the opportunity to provide snacks that will be packaged and distributed to school kids throughout the summer and throughout the school year. So you're going to be getting an email soon from Krista Lemery that has more information about the program. There's a list of snacks. We can go out and purchase snacks and collect them. I'm going to be taking a carload full of snacks actually to the district conference where we're going to be packaging those snacks together. You can also buy them online. And there's a wish list, Amazon wish list. So please join me in this. I think it's an important initiative. It very much aligns with our club's commitment to help ending hunger. And so look forward to your involvement. Thanks.
Nice connection to literacy there too, coming home from school. There we go, getting the snack. Fantastic. I heard tell that we have at least one miracle moment. Darren, do you want to share a miracle moment?
I do. In the miracle of entrepreneurship, everyone in this room either has had a business, knows someone that runs a business, someone started from something. So I have a challenge for each and every one of you today, and that is when you leave out of the parking lot, you get to the stop sign, take a left. About 5 houses up, there's a little girl there selling orange juice. I bought some orange juice that I didn't need, but I got it anyways. And I drank it and I gave her a couple of dollars. She was to the moon. I was evidently her first customer.
All right.
So if you have just a spare minute or two when you leave, take a left, 5 houses on the left. Hopefully she's still there and has product. Little girl being an entrepreneur. So cheers to that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Darren. Other miracle moments here in the room? Yes, sir.
So for those of you that have children, my youngest daughter will graduate Saturday from Athens Drive High School, University of Wilmington. I'm not excited about the part where I'm going to be paying for 2 kids in college in the fall, but the part where the youngest is graduating and she is graduating magna cum laude, however it's pronounced.
Wow.
So much better than I heard.
Congratulations, Art. Great. Oh.
As most of you know, I moved here from Colorado. Last night, the Avalanche made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. So since we don't have the Hurricanes there, please root for the Avalanche. Oh,
You got it. Well, it's an opportunity to cheer for the team, to beat the team that beat the Hurricanes. Any others? Any online? Any miracle moments we want online? All right, well then, without further ado, I have an opportunity to introduce our president-elect, Rod Brooks. I'll share just, I don't want to steal his thunder, but one of the conversations that we had at our retreat recently was, it's okay every once in a while to have a meeting that focuses on Rotary and what we do as an organization. And Rod tells the story that when he tried to get on the program committee has everything booked up through, I think it's 2026. So it's not that easy to get a program. So when we had the opportunity to have an alternate program, this one seemed like it was ideal. So join me in welcoming our colleague and friend, Rod Brooks.
August 27th. Our program schedule is filled through August 27th. That was the first time we were able to get on the calendar. I want to thank Cathy Moore for not showing up today. No, actually, as we kind of go into my year as Rotary President, which I'm very excited about, and I do encourage you to attend our installation banquet on the 28th. It's going to be a good program. I want to say there are 3 words you're going to hear me say a lot. 3 words you're going to hear me say a lot. Celebrate, serve, and involve. And you'll hear more about those words, but celebrate, we're going to continue to do the celebration that we do in this club because we have a lot of fun together. When I talk about celebrate in this context, I also want to talk about celebrating Rotary. It's my hope that at the end of next year, as I'm completing my term, that we're all a little bit more knowledgeable about Rotary and the more proud, in fact, of the work that we do through Rotary around the world and the work that we do in our community through working together through Rotary. And I hope that we're a little better able to tell the story of Rotary so that we can engage others in that. So in the spirit of celebrating Rotary and working along those lines, and in light of our speaker not being able to be here, of course, I wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you to Jennifer Jones. How many of you recognize that name? Yeah, a few. So Jennifer Jones has been elected to serve as the Rotary International President in 22-23, so starting in July. That was a groundbreaking selection because she's the first woman in Rotary, 115 years of Rotary history, to serve in that role. I want to take a minute to share her biography with you because I think as you hear more about her and then you'll hear her speak, you'll realize how fortunate Rotary is to have a leader of her caliber and quality and experience taking the helm on July 1st. So according to the biography that's on the Rotary website, she's a member of the Rotary Club of Windsor-Roseland, Ontario, Canada. Darren, there you go, another Canadian risen to the top. She is founder and president of Media Street Productions, an award-winning media company in Windsor. She was chair of the board of directors of the University of Windsor and chair of the local Windsor Essex Regional Chamber of Commerce. She's been recognized for her service with the YMCA Peace Medallion, which I think is an international award, the Queen's Diamond Jubilee Medal, and Wayne State University's Peacemaker of the Year Award, which is a first for a Canadian. She also holds a Doctor of Law degree. She's been a Rotary member since 1997 and has served as Rotary RI Vice President, a Director, a training leader, a committee chair, a moderator, and a district governor. She played a lead role in Rotary's rebranding effort to serve as chair of the Strengthening Rotary Advisory Group. She's co-chair of the End Polio Now Countdown to History Campaign Committee, which aims to raise $150 million for polio eradication efforts. Jennifer Jones recently led the successful Rotary Response Telethon, which raised funds for COVID-19 relief. She received Rotary International Service Above Self Award and the Rotary Foundation Citation for Meritorious Service. There's not much in Rotary that she hasn't earned here. She and her husband, Nick, are members of the Rotary Foundation's Arch Crump Society, making them major donors to the foundation, the Paul Harris Society, and the Bequest Society. I'd like to take this opportunity again just to acknowledge what an exceptional leader we have in Jennifer Jones, who's becoming our Rotary International president. And with that, there's a brief, about a 10-minute long video of comments that she has shared as part of the Rotary International Convention in Houston, which I thought would be helpful for us all to hear. So Bob, if you can cue up Jennifer Jones. That'd be great.
Thank you and greetings to you all. It is a joy to be with you here today. This year has challenged the world in ways that no one could have anticipated. COVID-19 has changed the way that we work, socialize, and celebrate. And finally, we're starting to see hope on the horizon. Hope for access to vaccines, hope that once again we can be together in person, and yes, hope, the kind that heals our hearts. We have spent much of the last year coping with what the world has placed before us. President Holger speaks often of the care that we have shown each other and how important it is to recognize our bonds of friendship and service. And I am overjoyed that President-elect Shaker continues to turn the spotlight onto Rotary service at a time when the world needs us most. And yes, there are still challenging times ahead, but the world needs us now more than ever. And Rotarians need each other to stay connected and continue to take action against COVID-19. That is the leadership that is entrusted to each of us as leaders in our great organization. To be brave, to be intentional in our actions. I want to share a story with you about when I served as a club president. I must say, I loved being a club president so much that I really hated sitting down at the end of the year. That year was 2001, and I was one of President Rick King's Regal Eagles. It was also the year that will forever be remembered for the date 9/11. Who will ever forget what happened on that fateful Tuesday? My home club meets on Tuesdays, and around 10 a.m. I started receiving calls and emails asking if our meeting was canceled. Somehow, I knew at that moment that we needed to be together, to be in shared experience. As you likely know, I'm Canadian, and on that day, as the meeting began, we stood facing the American flag and sang the Star-Spangled Banner, their anthem, and wept alongside our friends on the other side of the border. Our speaker on that day was a young Rotary scholar who was heading to study in Poland. We quickly changed the format, and he and I simply sat in front of the club and had a discussion. And he had incredible observations about peace. The love and support for each other and for our American friends was profound. And it's times like these that you truly feel the impact of the family of Rotary. Over the past several months, these are the same kinds of moments that have played out across the globe over and over again. our ability to look out for each other, to weep together, to pray together, and to protect each other, both physically and mentally. I'm sure that many of you have heard this quote from Maya Angelou. She said, "I've learned that people will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel." That is the family of Rotary. I guess what I'm saying is be that person. Be the kind of leader who is brave enough to say and do nice things for your members and their families. They will never forget how you made them feel. And the even greater reward, you will never forget how it made you feel. I want to spend the rest of my time with you talking about something near and dear to my heart, the creation of Rotary moments and Rotary's public image. It used to be that we were encouraged to do our good work quietly and not for recognition. It's really only been the past decade where telling our story has become one of our strategic initiatives. What we've learned is that when we tell our story, like-minded people want to join with us. It's actually one of our greatest membership tools. Who in this virtual room doesn't have an amazing Rotary story? Each and every one of you has experienced the joy of a Rotary moment. It's taking it that next step and understanding that when you share them, you can help to change people's lives. When the simple and the ordinary collide with intention, it can become extraordinary. Rotary provides each of us with a platform, and a powerful one, to help shape how people see our organization. So, what are the stories that you have to tell, and how can you share them? The best way I can express it is that you want to paint a story with your words. It's about putting forward the human face and making that emotional connection. Our lives are rich with content, and your own personal stories are a powerful way to connect with Rotarians. It's about stepping back and looking at situations in your life and appreciating the lessons they provide for you and for others. Then, it's about sharing them. Imagine if we could engage our 1.2 million members as the greatest storytellers of our organization's accomplishments. Everything that we do affects our image and our brand. Quite simply, our ability to tell our stories in a compelling way affects how our organization is perceived. A decade ago, I completed one of the biggest challenges of my life. My husband Nick and I climbed nearly 20,000 feet to reach the top of Mount Kilimanjaro in Tanzania. It was part personal challenge and part a Rotary fundraiser. It took 5 days to reach the summit. The first in lush forest, the second in thick brush, the third in low scrub, and the fourth day was like landing on the moon, craters and no sign of life. Now, let me explain to you, climbing Kilimanjaro is not a technical climb like Everest. The battle with Kili is altitude, and for me, it was a journey to the depths of positive thinking. By the time that we had arrived at base camp above 15,000 feet, 2 of our team members were exhibiting mild to medium signs of altitude sickness. It begged the question, should we really be doing this? The summit is attempted at midnight, and it takes somewhere between 6 to 7 hours. It's done at this time because the temperature drops to -20 and it freezes the ground so that you can get better traction. Each of the groups that attempts the climb is led by a team of guides, and this is a coveted job because of the precious tips that they receive. Now, this is where the story becomes very personal. As we set out that night with only a miner's light leading the way, I was torn whether to feel exhilarated by the opportunity or terrified by the fact that something could go wrong. It wouldn't be until we reached ground level that we would learn a guide from another team had died, and a 22-year-old man from England was in cardiac arrest. Our guides sang Christmas songs in Swahili, and the rhythm of their music helped to create a pace to our steps. Pole pole in Swahili means go slow, and it was the mantra of our climb. You see, the best way to ward off altitude sickness is to stay very well hydrated and to take time to adjust to each level by going slowly. Pole, pole. I must confess that I entered into this climb perhaps a little too lightly and without the full appreciation of the dangers. I suppose I knew them, but I was excited by the adventure and most eager to reach the top of the African continent. It seemed like we had been climbing forever when our guide shared that we were only a quarter of a way to the top. It was also at this point that our water, even insulated, was frozen. It took everything in my being to stay focused and to put one foot in front of the other. Inside, I was questioning why was I on the side of a mountain, and I had to dig really deep to stay positive. I was ready to throw in the towel countless times, but to what end? There was really no easy way out. The last hour was the most difficult and required a lot of rock climbing. It was just as the sun was peaking above the horizon that we reached the top. The sky transitioned from a thick carpet of stars to an orange tapestry of color. I tell you this story because it's about climbing to great heights. And isn't Rotary a story we should be shouting from the top of a mountain? I also see this climb as a metaphor for life and about how we frame the things that are important to us. What are the stories in your own club, in your own district, that help to bring Rotary to life? As a global network of professional business and community volunteers, Rotary is a brand that unites the world. We simply have to climb the mountain and shout a little louder. Each one of you are ambassadors of our great message, and it begins daily by simply wearing your Rotary pin. We see now more than ever that clubs that have great public relations are clubs that are growing. Public relations actually is one of our best progressive tools for membership, both for recruitment and for retention. When we tell our story, like-minded people want to join with us. It makes it so much easier to ask someone to be part of Rotary when they're already aware of who we are and what we're doing. Likewise, there's such a sense of pride that's created within our ranks when we see our stories being told. Members feel good about what they're doing, and in turn, they're buoyed and want to continue doing more. It's a great way to keep our members engaged. If you have gleaned anything in the past few minutes, I hope it's that good public relations is about telling our stories. You may, however, still be asking, how do I do this when I'm not an expert? Well, the first thing you must realize is it's not your job alone. Good public relations is every member's obligation. We're all ambassadors of Rotary. So, how do we showcase what's valuable to us? Not long ago, I was in Chicago visiting my brother. We went shopping one afternoon, and the only thing I wanted to purchase was a gratitude journal. This was a trend a few years ago where you would write down 3 things a day that you were grateful for. The premise being that it would help to manifest the power of positive thinking. I thought this was a good thing. We were in a lovely little boutique when I found my book. Very quietly, I said to my husband, I said, Nick, this is my gratitude journal. I looked around a little bit more and then I went up to the counter to pay. I watched as the clerk went down to one end of the counter and took out this beautiful tissue paper and carefully wrapped the book. He then went to the other end of the counter where he found a blue box with gold lines all over the top. He came back to the middle and finished it off with an elaborate bow and then came forward and gave it to me. He said, I couldn't help but overhear what you said, that this is going to be your gratitude journal. He said, I want to be the first entry in your book. I want you to write that the man that sold this book to me made it an even more beautiful experience. He is indeed the first entry. So how do we showcase what's important to us? What's the packaging, the special ribbons that we wrap around Rotary to make it even more beautiful? We do it through public relations. We do it by telling our story. Rotary, a brand that brings the world together. And so, I carry his message of gratitude here today to say thank you. Thank you for all that you have done, and thank you for all that you are going to do. You have already been touched deeply by our organization, or you wouldn't be sitting here today. When we tell our stories, we're inspiring our clubs, recharging our batteries, and preparing for the year ahead. Thank you for your leadership, and thank you for being such a vital part of Rotary International.
Thank you, Bob. So what a remarkable person, huh? And guess what? Bill and I had a chance to hear her speak live and in person at our President Flex training seminar earlier this year, and she was, even more remarkable. Again, we're really fortunate as Rotarians to have such a remarkable leader kind of stepping into that RI president role. And I appreciate the message that she's sharing about, Rotary moment. In her remarks, she asked, what is your Rotary moment? And as I reflected on the experience that I've had in this club for, 16 years or so, I thought, man, we've got some incredible Rotary moments. I mean, if you don't believe it, ask Tim Mannix or Neil Lagarde or Neil's wife, Lori, about driving to some of the first Rise Against Hunger meal packaging events as we help get that program going as a club. Or talk to Pat Hudson about cleaning up Black Creek, or many of the other projects that we've done to support literacy and education and help end hunger and raise money, and we've had fun doing it. And so we've got some remarkable stories, and I just invite every one of us to think about what those stories have been. For me, when I was at Rise Against Hunger, had the opportunity to travel, around the world. And one of the communities I visited was in Uganda, Kampala, Uganda. And I remember going to a Rotary Club meeting there. This was kind of outside of the formal agenda that I had there, but I thought, I'm a Rotarian, I can drop in any Rotary meeting in the world and I'll be welcome. And sure enough, I went to the Kampala Rotary Club meeting, and it was a meeting that took place in the evening. And there was kind of like a formal, hours or so worth of formal meeting. And then the next thing I knew, the doors to this room kind of opened up and they brought out pitchers of beer, and then it ended up being another couple of hours. And I remember, I'm not going to tell the story, but I remember telling a story during that meeting to one of the local Rotarians there. And frankly, it was kind of a little bit of an embarrassing kind of family story that I shared with him. And I remember him just like hearing that story and laughing and saying, hey man, I thought that kind of thing only happened here in Uganda. So immediately we realized we shared this bond. And it just reminded me just how magical Rotary is. That we have this shared commitment of service with 1.4 million Rotarians around the world. And that by working together, we can really make a difference. And that's what we're doing. So take Jennifer Jones' advice, think about what your Rotary moment is, what that means, and let's think about how to share that. And let's really celebrate Rotary as we go forward into the new year. Turn it back to you, Bob. Thank you.
An inspiring few minutes. So thank you, Rod, for that. What, no note cards? Anybody that comes up here and does a program needs to get some note cards.
He said he had so many note cards already that he wanted to share with others.
Jerry, I'm trying to push the note cards. You see, I'm trying.
Thank you very much. He gave me the note cards, but Paul gave them to me, but he told me to put them back in the closet.
I wanted to say it from the speakers.
Yes.
Save
them for Cathy.
I vote we award them to Tyler. Would you be willing to make a gift of those note cards to Tyler as our visitor
But he'll
today?
have to earn them.
He has. Do you see where he's sitting? He has earned.
Whatever name he goes on.
They're not personalized, Tyler. But these are, just to tell you the story behind them, these note cards are pencil drawings that were done by one of our founding members, Jerry Miller, who is recognized as a patron of the arts here in the town of Cary. And so we're always thrilled to recognize our speakers with a special gift that comes from the heart, from Cary Rotary Club. So thank you for being with us. All right, so as we close today, I want to recognize a couple of birthdays. Ernie Faulkner will be celebrating his birthday on the 7th. I guess that's today. Happy birthday to Ernie. Tom Ford, On the 11th, on Saturday, we'll be celebrating his birthday. Jim Lovejoy, spoiler alert, Betsy's birthday, I have down as Thursday. Is that right? Give us a thumbs up if it's right. All right, good. Happy to warn you there. And speaking of gratitude, I want to recognize Dorothy Schmelzeis will be celebrating her 15th anniversary as a Cary Rotarian on June 12th, next Sunday. I know you were struggling with whether or not you should come today because of the workers at your house. So I am grateful that you chose us then and now. Next week, we have a program from Brittany Constance. Dr. Mann, Charlie Mann, has arranged to have Brittany from Alliance Medical Ministry come and speak to us about a different way to approach health care. Our meal next week will be the infamous cheeseburger with lettuce, tomato, and onion, also a pickle and some French fries. In 2 weeks, our very own Paul Carr will be speaking to us about the spirit of Wilbur Wright. And it says here that Paul Sossman apparently is getting the commission on your appearance there, Paul, and thank you, Paul, for inviting Paul.
He's going to take me to Europe on my display.
Oh, there you go. On the right flyer, or will it be a little more? Gotcha, we'll look forward to that. Yeah. Well, as always, I want to thank everyone that helps make our meetings happen. I want to thank Leon for being our greeter, first person in the door. I know he had head out a little bit early. Paul, always signing folks in. Bill Zidek for leading us in the invocation. We're going to get to that other song at some point in time. I want to thank Camille for awarding the cards, thanking our speaker, so to speak. Tyler, I want to thank you and thank Bill and Camille for inviting you and having you with us today. Rod, for your program, being able to step in at the last minute, we certainly appreciate that. And for everything that all of you do to help drive our service in the community, I'm grateful. So with that, can I ask Eric Schmidt to lead us out on the four-way test?
Four-way test of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
We are adjourned.